So over the course of the last few months of breeding these rabbit snails, I have learned something that honestly perplexed me for a little bit, but it kind of just is what it is that rabbit snails are kind of picky eaters. Normally, snails of all sorts enjoy the food pellets that I give them, and they're very high in the good noms that they need, but they don't seem to go for it, at least not anymore. When they were younger, they went straight for the little pellet foods. But now I gotta feed them these fish flakes. And, I mean, there was no activity in this tank all about 5 minutes ago. Then I put fish flakes in the water, and immediately they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's fish flakes! We need some nums on fish flakes." So, yeah, this stuff, just tropical fish flakes from Wardley. Just, I don't know why, but they like it, and they certainly are active when it comes to eating. Like, they're all up on the glass, just eating all the algae. That's why there's not a whole lot of algae on this tank. I don't scrape this tank. They scrape it for me. But they need supplemental food because they are big snails. And the algae that's just residual on the glass is not enough. I have to feed them something. So, the easiest readily available food that you could just pick up, apparently, the flakes do perfectly fine. There's other stuff I want to start giving them, like some blanched cucumber, and perhaps I'll make some Snello again soon. It's a special type of jello that contains a bunch of the good noms that snails usually go crazy for. Back when I used to breed mystery snails, they would go absolutely nuts for Snello. But for right now, I just want to feed them something that they like and that they'll eat so that they can supplement their diet. There's these cute little chonkers. I want them to grow up big and strong. Oh, look at those little eyes. Little beady eyes. These guys are adorable. So that's kind of the update on these guys. There's plenty of them. And the adults, most of the adults that I originally started with are still here. You can tell which ones are the adults because the adults came from the wild, so their shells are slightly eroded. All the ones that were born in my tanks have near perfect, if not perfect, shells because there's a lot of calcium in my water, and I feed them a diet of high calcium foods. They grow with their shell. Their shell grows around them as they get older, so they need that calcium in order to keep growing properly. So it's pretty easy to tell which ones are which. This little guy right here is a good example from the back. Just no pitting, no erosion or anything like that. And then we got the little chonkers down here, which are doing perfectly fine. They're always scooting about. Scooting? That's a good question. What is the proper word for the way a snail moves? Technically, they have a foot, but they're not walking. Are they scooting? Are they zooming? Are they undulating? That is the question. I've talked to a lot of people about that, but no one seems to have a complete consensus on the proper terminology for the way a snail moves. And I think it's just kind of based on where you live that might determine what you would call the way a snail moves. I kind of like zooming. They're zooming around, even though they're really slow. But I figured I would just update on the rabbit snails because this is the development that's been in the works for several weeks now. So, food and rabbit snails. They're a little picky, but that's probably because there's no plants in this tank. Normally they'd be perfectly fine with eating decayed plant matter. But all the plant matter that is around would be the algae, and they've picked that clean. So, gotta get them a bigger tank soon because, good gravy, they are multiplying slowly, but they are multiplying. They're gonna need some room to zoom, scoot, hop. Yeah, we'll go with hop.